So welcome everybody to today's webinar. This is how to use the Salesforce AppExchange in your consulting partner search. My name is Watt Hamlet, and I am the founder and principal of Watt Hamlet Consulting, where it is my mission to help organizations navigate and succeed in the Salesforce ecosystem. So on today's webinar, we are going to talk about how to make the most of the Salesforce AppExchange in your consulting partner research. In fact, for most of our time today, we will be in the AppExchange, and I'll be showing you how you can use the tools there to find potential partners and what you can reliably learn about partners from the AppExchange. And so my goal is that you will leave the webinar feeling more confident in your ability to separate fact from hype and use the AppExchange to research partners like a pro. Just briefly to tell you a bit about myself, I have been helping nonprofits solve technology challenges for almost 20 years now across different companies and roles. For the past 12 of those years, I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for nonprofits, and I have worked both for ISV product companies as well as for consulting partner companies. And I started WHC 3 years ago to provide independent strategic advisory services to nonprofits to help them make their decisions and plans related to Salesforce. I also do work with product and implementation companies who want to strengthen their ability to serve nonprofits with Salesforce. And in the process of doing that, I've gotten to know the AppExchange very well. I've actually now worked with several firms to help them with their presence on the AppExchange. So I'm here today to give you an insider's view, hopefully, and to equip you to become a more savvy consumer of the AppExchange. I will admit that the AppExchange can be overwhelming, but it can also be a really helpful tool if you know when and how to use it. And then also just to say that while my work has all been focused in the nonprofit sector, the things I'll be sharing today would apply to anyone in any sector. So there is a lot that goes into choosing a Salesforce consulting partner. And there are so many things, in fact, that I have created a 10-part guide on the topic. It covers things like why you would need a consulting partner in the first place and what they can do for you and who are the people that you're going to work with. And you can get that free guide on my website, watthamletconsulting.com. And in the guide, there is a 5-step process for choosing a partner. And I won't really be going into this on the webinar today, but I share this framework to say this, that if you want to use the AppExchange strategically in your partner selection process, there are 2 good points in the process to do so. So the first is during the prepare stage. So this is when the AppExchange can be one of many potential sources to help you identify prospective partners who might be a good fit for your particular Salesforce needs. And then the second is during the pair stage. So once you've received proposals and you're trying to narrow down your options, it can be good to go back to that data from the AppExchange to help you kind of compare firms head to head on some key points before you make a final decision. So the AppExchange is by no means perfect and should never be the only source you turn to help you find partners. But it really is today the only place that you can get verified objective metrics about consulting partners. And so that's really what we're going to focus on today are the top 7 things that you can learn about consulting partners on the AppExchange. And you see them here on the screen. So it's years in business, total consultants, total certifications, types of certifications, total projects, types of projects, and then client satisfaction ratings and review. So that's what we're really going to spend the rest of the webinar talking about. And let's go ahead and dig into that and hop on over to the AppExchange. So you're looking now at the homepage of appexchange.salesforce.com. I'm assuming everyone on this call knows that the AppExchange is the place to find apps for Salesforce, as the name implies, but it also is Salesforce's official directory of all of its consulting partners. Consulting partners are also called SIs or system integrators. I'm going to just call them partners today, and just know when I say partners, I'm talking about consulting partners. So how do you find them on the AppExchange? So if you'll notice here at the top, there is a tab that says consultants. So when we click into that, excuse me, this will take us to the homepage for consultants on the AppExchange. Now, there's a couple of things to know about this area. First of all, although it is called consultants, it is actually a directory of consulting companies. So these firms can range from single person shops all the way up to global corporations with thousands of employees. And when you first land on this page, you can see the total number of consulting firms that are currently listed on the AppExchange. There are 1,881 of them. When I was prepping for this meeting yesterday, there were only 1,877. So 4 have been added in the past 24 hours. And that brings me to a quiz question I have for you. So again, if you could go just to the Q&A panel, no one else will see this, your answer except for me. And just give me your best guess about how many consulting partners there were 4 years ago. So we're talking back in the spring of 2017, how many consulting partners do you think Salesforce had at that point in time? So get your answer in the Q&A panel, and I'm gonna tell you the correct answer in just a moment. So the second thing I want to mention here is that how does a firm get listed as a consulting partner on the AppExchange? So in order to do that, they have to become part of the Salesforce Partner Program. There's no option just to kind of sign yourself up to be on the AppExchange. You have to meet Salesforce's criteria, which are actually pretty simple. So in order to become a Salesforce partner, the entry level requirement is you have to have a company with where among your staff you hold 2 qualifying credentials, basically 2 Salesforce certifications. You have to pay a partner fee, an annual partner fee, which for this year the starting fee is $500, and you have to sign a partner agreement. That's all you need to do to actually get listed as a partner on the AppExchange. All right, I'm popping into the Q&A panel to see how you did with the quiz question. Somebody wrote $1. I don't know if this is not The Price is Right, but thank you for guessing. We have someone guessed 1,500, someone guessed 150. The actual correct answer to the question is 873. So in the past 4 years, there have been 1,000 new consulting partners added to the Salesforce Partner Program. So if you are an organization looking for a partner, perhaps that's great news because you've got a lot to choose from. If you are a Salesforce partner, maybe that's not so great because now there's a lot of new competition. But regardless, let's go ahead and talk about how you can use the AppExchange to sift through all of these different options and surface the most qualified partners for your project, or at least validate partners you've identified elsewhere. So if you notice here, the default view of our consultants is popularity. That is a proprietary score that has to do with user activity on the AppExchange itself in the past 30 days. So in order for a firm to be considered popular, it means that people have viewed their listing or otherwise interacted with their page on the AppExchange. So it doesn't necessarily correlate to how many customers they have or how many people are using them in the real world. So as we scroll down the page here, the first thing you'll see is a section called Sponsored Consultants. These are ads. So these are partners who have paid for this above the fold placement on the AppExchange. And then from there, we get the kind of organic results of all the partners ranked in order of popularity. And then if you, for any of these partner listings that you see, if you will mouse over the tile, you'll get a little summary snapshot of that partner. So you'll see the number of certified experts, their rating, projects completed, and then a little short blurb about the partner. And from there, you can click in to go to see the full partner listing. So let's go ahead and do that now. And then we're going to come back to this page later and talk about how you can use some of these filters to further narrow down your search for partners. So since we were on Deloitte's listing there, let's just go ahead and pop into the Deloitte Digital uh, AppExchange listing. And I just want to highlight a couple of things here. So this is the exact same format across every single partner. So I'll just click, this is Deloitte. Here's another firm, Kell Partners. So Deloitte's kind of an example of a really big kind of global Salesforce partner. Kell is more of a medium-sized firm. And then 110th Consulting, they're more of a small firm. But you see for all of them, it's the same page format. So there's only so much a partner can change about how their listing looks. And then you'll notice that if we scroll down the page here for Deloitte, you can see there's some intro content. They've got some images. They've got some videos embedded here. You can watch a demo. They've got additional information about what the firm does, where they're located, what languages they offer, and then a bunch of resources you can access about the firm. So, so that's a little bit about what the landing page or the overview page looks like for a consulting partner. And then I really want to make sure that you notice that there are two additional tabs here. There's an expertise tab and there's a reviews tab. So it's the combination of these three tabs that are going to tell you everything you can learn about that partner from the AppExchange. And so I want to dive into this a little bit more. And so I'm going to switch back to a slide here for a second, because every AppExchange listing is a mixture of both subjective and objective information about that firm. So we're using 110th here as an example. So that marketing content that we scrolled through, the headline, the description, the images, the video, these are things the partner has full control over as a way to market themselves and tell you about their firm. But then there's some things on the page that the partner has little to no influence over. So starting here at the top, you can see the number of Salesforce certified experts. Wherever you see the term certified expert, that essentially means consultants. So this number for every partner is derived directly from Salesforce's certification system, which is called Web Assessor. So every person who takes a Salesforce certification has the option to align their certifications with only one partner firm. So if we see here that 110th is telling us they have 2 certified experts, that means they're actually 2 human beings who have the right Salesforce credentials who are affiliated with 110th Consulting. So that's a verified number. It also reflects current point in time. This is not how many consultants the firm ever had. This is, as of today, how many consultants does that firm have? The second number is the number of projects completed. Again, this is a verified number. It represents the number of projects that the firm has reported to Salesforce they've completed. And this is a cumulative number across the whole life of the firm. And then similarly with ratings, this is a little bit of a mixed bag. Mostly it is from verified customers, but not entirely. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that. And this is also cumulative across the life of the firm. So again, every AppExchange listing is a mix of some partner-controlled information and then some verified information by Salesforce. So before we dig further into that, there are 2 important concepts that you need to understand about the factors that drive the data that you see on the AppExchange. The first is project logging. So for every project that a Salesforce partner completes, they have the option to log it with Salesforce through the partner portal. And then for each project they choose to log, there's certain data that's required. And I've highlighted some of that here on the screen. So first, the partner has to indicate what type of project was it. And there's multiple types to choose from. Was it an implementation? Was it a training project? Was it a support project, advisory? There are 8 or 9 different categories of projects that partners can log. Then secondly, the partner has to indicate which Salesforce products they used as part of the project. And so there are 16 product families, if you will, that Salesforce can let partners tag the projects to: Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Experience Cloud, Pardot, Marketing Cloud. These are all kind of product families. And then within that, there were sort of sub functions or or functional areas that projects can be tagged to. That can be things like nonprofit fundraising or education recruiting or student services. So any given project can be tagged up to any number of these 59 different product areas. The other thing that the partner has to specify is what industry the client that they did the project for is in. And there are 47 different options that they can choose from here, but in this case, they can only choose one. So every client project has to be aligned to a particular industry. And then they have to enter the end date for the project. Now, what's to stop a partner from just making up a bunch of projects, logging them with Salesforce so that they can, inflate their numbers? And so here's the key thing to understand. In order for the project to count, the customer that the project was done for must complete a customer satisfaction survey, also known as a CSAT survey. Until that survey is completed by the customer, Salesforce will not recognize that project is complete, and it won't factor into the partner's data on the AppExchange. The survey itself asks 10 questions, generally things like, how satisfied were you with the partner's work? Did they do a good job at estimating your project? Did they keep you informed during the life of the project? Things like that. So these are all rating scale questions on a scale of 1 to 5. And then there's a final question that gives the client the opportunity to explain in their own words their experience in working with the partner. And so collectively, this information from the CSAT survey is sent to Salesforce. So the partner doesn't receive it directly. It goes right to Salesforce. And so the partner really has no control at that point over the client's response. That said, remember, the firm is always in control of the projects that it submits. So the firm can choose to send the survey only to clients for whom they have a reasonable assurance of a favorable review. And indeed, in practice, that's what most partners do. So just think about this for a second. Let's say last year, a consulting firm did 4 projects. 2 of them went great, and 2 of them did not. So the partner can choose to submit to Salesforce only the 2 that went great. Those clients, in turn, give the partner, a 5-star review, and all of that shows up on the AppExchange. And future prospective customers are none the wiser that only half of the firm's projects last year actually were great, right? So so just something to keep in mind that as you weigh the benefit of the CSAT score and of the log projects as a metric for determining the merits of the partner for your own Salesforce projects. So that's concept number 1, is project logging. Concept number 2, I really apologize that I'm going to have to explain this to you because it's pretty confusing, but again, it does drive a lot of what you see on the AppExchange. So I'm going to do my best to explain to you the mysteries of the Navigator program. So the Navigator is designed to help partners further distinguish themselves based on the number and types of projects that they do, as well as the certifications that they have. And there are 2 different types of Navigator credit that a partner can earn. There's product expertise, also called Salesforce expertise, and there's industry expertise. So think about when we talked about partners logging projects, they have to specify the products that were used and the industry that it was for. So these 2 pieces of the Navigator program align to product and industry in that same way, okay? And so within each of those 2 credit areas, there are 3 tiers of achievement that you see here on the screen. There's a level 1 specialist, there's a level 2 specialist, and there's an expert. So how does a partner earn these distinctions, level 1, level 2, and expert? It's through a combination of 3 factors. It's the certifications that they hold for that particular area. It's the number of projects they have completed in that particular area. And it is the CSAT score for that particular area. So for example, if a firm, for any given kind of product area or industry, if the firm has 1 person who holds the certification that corresponds to that product or industry, has done, and by done I mean logged, 3 projects that correspond to that product area or industry, and those 3 projects each have a CSAT score of above 4.2, then the partner will earn a level 1 specialist in that area. Likewise, if they have 5 credentialed individuals in an area and have done 10 projects in that area, and the CSAT score for each of those projects cumulatively is above 4.4, then they can earn a level 2 specialist. And then finally, to become an expert, the partner will have to have attained at least 75% of the level 2 specialist categories within that area. So let me give you an example here in the nonprofit sector. So for the Navigator, for the product area for the nonprofit cloud, there are 4 specialization areas in that: fundraising, program management, engagement, and grant making. Okay, so any given partner can earn either a level 1 or a level 2 specialist in any one of those 4 areas. And then if they achieve level 2 in at least 75%, so in this case it would be 3 out of the 4 areas, then they would earn expert status for nonprofit cloud. Okay, so I hope that all makes sense. There's one other very important wrinkle in all of this, which is that there is a time limit for how long a project can be counted towards Navigator status. So without really getting too bogged down in it, it's essentially a 2-year window, really kind of a 2 to 4 year window that projects are eligible to count. So what this does is it puts a premium on recency. So if my firm has been around for 10 years and I did a bunch of projects a long time ago that would qualify me for these different Navigator specializations, it's not going to do me any good, because really the projects that I can count all have been done within the past 2 to 4 years. All right, so that's enough talking about Navigator. Let's take a look at then how all of these different pieces come together on a consultant's AppExchange page. So first of all, let's talk about years in business. I'll go to 1/10 for this. So what does when a firm was founded tell you about that particular company? It can tell you, essentially what it says, right? It's how many years they've been in business, but it doesn't tell you something which is even more important, which is how long has the firm been doing Salesforce projects. So it's good to capture this data point as you're evaluating partners, but if a partner makes your short list, the important thing to focus on is how long have they actually been doing Salesforce work. Now, I happen to know 1/10 Consulting has been doing Salesforce work the whole time. So since 2016, they've been doing Salesforce work. The same with Kell Partners. They've been around since 2009. They've been doing Salesforce work since 2009. Deloitte, as the longest standing firm in the Salesforce ecosystem, has not been doing Salesforce projects since 1845, right? So it's important to know specifically for any firm how long they've been doing Salesforce work. And even more important than that, it's also critical to know how many years of experience doing Salesforce work the particular people who will be assigned to your project are bringing to the table. And again, this doesn't necessarily correlate to how old the company is. So again, just taking 1/10 as an example, their founder, Ruben Singh, has actually been doing Salesforce work for non-projects for 10 years. And so if Ruben is assigned to your project, he's actually bringing more years of Salesforce experience to the table than even, he's bringing experience that even predates the age of his firm. So again, really important to understand the amount of experience a firm has, yes, but also the individuals in the firm who will be on your project have. So let's talk about the second metric here, total completed projects. Total completed projects. So now you know what this number comes from, right? It's based on the number of projects that the firm has completed that they have also logged with Salesforce and for which a customer has completed a CSAT survey. And so assuming this number is reasonably accurate for any given partner, what does it tell you? So in my experience, partners who have more projects generally have learned more lessons, about how to do projects well, have had more time to evolve their methodology. And if that is paired with good reviews, then that can give you an additional level of confidence in hiring that firm. But again, ultimately, whether or not the firm can deliver success on your project is going to depend on the experience of the specific people who are assigned to your project. And hopefully they're bringing not only the technical knowledge, but some familiarity with working with an organization like yours. So really the success is going to come down to the specific people. So speaking of people, then certified experts, we talked before about how this is a hard number. It actually comes from the Salesforce's certification engine. This isn't something that a partner can easily or really manipulate at all. And so it's really useful to give you a sense of the consulting capacity of the firm. So if you're a Fortune 500 company and you know you've got a lot of work to do on the Salesforce platform, you're going to want to look at a firm that can bring lots of consulting capacity to the table. So that's where a firm like Deloitte becomes very relevant, right? With 4,000 certified consultants, they're probably going to have the human resources needed to serve you. But again, this doesn't tell you the experience of the particular people who are going to be assigned to your project. So my advice before you hire a Salesforce firm is you always want to find out which of their consultants will be assigned to your project and what their specific qualifications are. All right, so those are three of our metrics here from the overview tab. Let's hop over to the expertise tab. There are two types of metrics on the expertise tab. So again, certifications, and then this is where we get into Navigator, right? So let's talk about certifications first. So this is where you can tell or learn, whether the company's consultants collectively hold the certifications that are relevant to your need. So let's pop open Deloitte's certifications, right? So if you're going to do, let's say, Marketing Cloud or Pardot, you can easily see that, yeah, Deloitte can probably do that work for you because look at all the Marketing Cloud and Pardot consultants that they have on their staff. If we go over to a firm like 1/10 and look at their expertise, and again, we're looking for a firm that can bring, let's say, Marketing Cloud or Pardot expertise at the table. Well, that's certainly not reflected in their certifications. Doesn't mean maybe that they haven't done some of that work, but it gives you a relative sense of their capacity to take that on versus other firms. The other thing I want to say about certifications is actually there are a couple of caveats. So first of all, Salesforce likes to call people with certifications experts, but in reality, a certification does not an expert make. So true confession, I have a Pardot certification. You would not want me implementing Pardot for you because I've actually never done a Pardot project. I earned the certification in anticipation of doing those projects, but they never came my way. So again, it really matters not only that someone has a certification, but that they also have the experience to back it up. And then secondly, again, if a firm has the holds the certifications collectively that represent the types of capabilities you'll need, that doesn't do you any good if a person with that certification is not assigned to your project, right? So I might say, great, Deloitte, I want to do a Marketing Cloud project, but if they don't put one of those Marketing Cloud certified people on my project, it's not going to really benefit me. So I know I'm sounding like a broken record at this point, but again, it's very important to understand at the end of the day, who are the people that will be assigned to your project, and do they have the experience and the credentials necessary to do the work for you? Okay, so that's certifications. Let's talk about Navigator. So hopefully, based on my earlier explanation, you should be clear on how Navigator works, but let me take you through a couple of examples here just to be sure. So back to 1/10 consulting, we can see that under Salesforce expertise or product expertise, they have one specialization, which is fundraising. So this tells us that they have at least one person on their staff who has the relevant certification to fundraising, which in this case is nonprofit cloud consultant. it tells us that they have completed and submitted and gotten reviews on at least three projects related to fundraising in the past 2 to 4 years. And then that for those projects, they collectively earned over a greater than 4.2 CSAT rating, right? And so that's why we can see that 110th Consulting is a level 1 specialist in nonprofit cloud, because they're level 1 for one of the specialty areas under that, which is fundraising. Let's go over and look at Kel. So in Kel's case, notice they are an expert for nonprofit cloud. So what does that mean? So if we open this up here, we can see that they have specializations in engagement, fundraising, and program management. Now, because they're expert level, we know then that they must have earned a level 2 specialization in each of these areas. It's sort of like with Monopoly, where you can't build a hotel until you built all the houses. Same way here. So this tells us that in each of these 3 areas, Kel has the relevant certifications, which again is nonprofit cloud. So we can see they have 14 folks with nonprofit cloud certifications. They've done at least 10 projects in each of these areas in the past 2 to 4 years. And for each of those projects they submitted, they got a CSAT score back of greater than 4.4. And that's how they have now earned nonprofit cloud expert status. Okay, so that's how certifications, project completion, CSAT scores all kind of roll together to help you have an understanding of both at a product level, which firms bring what level of expertise or specialization, and then also at an industry level. So again, with Kel, we can see that they've done enough projects across education and nonprofit that qualifies them for the industry expertise designation for the Salesforce.org sectors. Okay, so that's overview and expertise. We got one more tab to go here on our AppExchange profiles. For this one, we'll start with 1/10. So there are 2 things that you can learn from this tab. The first is the CSAT, the cumulative CSAT score. So you can see for 1/10 Consulting, it's 4.8. There is rounding that happens. So see, they have 5 stars, but their rating is only 4.8. I believe anything that's 4.8 or higher is considered 5 stars. Anything that is 0.3 to 0.7 would be half a star. So it's just something to keep in mind as you're looking at different listings on the AppExchange. So that's the first data point you can see here is the cumulative CSAT score. And then the second thing you can see are the actual customer reviews, and there's two flavors of these. So they're what are called verified reviews. So remember when I was talking about CSAT survey and said there's that final question where customers can provide a written answer to the question of what do they like about working with this partner. If the customer does that and they opt to have that shared on the AppExchange, this is where it will show up. And what's nice about these verified reviews is not only do you get to read what the customer had to say about the partner, but then Salesforce also pulls in some of the details about the project itself. So we can see for this review that came in on December 20th, it was for nonprofit cloud. It was in the Salesforce.org industry sector. It was a 1-month project. The project was done in the US. The project before that, again, nonprofit cloud, was a 5-month project. Nonprofit cloud, 7-month project. So this starts to give you a sense of not only what the customers have to say, but what were the projects that the consultant did for which the customer gave this review. If we hop over to Deloitte here, we can see they've got a 4.7, so that's 4.5 stars, and then 25 reviews. The reviews they have here are also Salesforce verified, meaning these were associated with a CSAT survey. And we can start to see, like for Deloitte, this first project was a Sales Cloud project in the financial services industry for 6 months in India, right? So this is some additional helpful information or context that Salesforce provides here on the reviews tab. So verified reviews are one type of review. The other type is what's called a community review. So really anyone can come in to a partner's listing, click the write a review button. It is going to make me log in to my Trailblazer account. So there is some tying this to an actual person. It's, I guess, it would be hard for bots to spoof. So there is some, at least some, a little bit of a paper trail in terms of the people who are submitting these reviews. But then there's no requirement that the partner has to have. Of course, there's no requirement that the partner has to validate these reviews, right? Partners can contest them after the fact, but they can be posted to the partner's AppExchange listing without partner intervention. So those can maybe tend to be a little bit more accurate, just in the sense of if you had a very unhappy customer, they would never have the chance to respond to the solicited survey because they would never be asked to fill that out perhaps. But through these community reviews, it provides a little bit of a way for customers who maybe didn't have a good experience to express that. Okay, so just going to check the time here. We're going to have a chance to do some Q&A here momentarily. I do want to go back and just, again, kind of review the 7 things that we've just talked about that are key things you can learn from the AppExchange. So years in business, total consultants, total certifications, types of certifications, total projects, types of projects, and client satisfaction and reviews. So let's now go back to the landing page in the AppExchange and kind of tie this all together. So when we first landed on this page, we talked about the fact that it just defaults to all consulting firms ranked by popularity. But now, based on the things that we've reviewed, let's talk about being able to do filtered searches. So this is where the power of the consultant section of the AppExchange really comes into play. So if you notice in the left margin here, we have a series of filters that we can apply to our consultant search. And look at this. The first one is called Salesforce Expertise. It's our old friend. We know what this is, right? Here are those 16 different product families that partners can tie their projects to. So for example, if we're only looking for partners that have submitted or registered projects associated with the nonprofit cloud, we can apply that filter. And now we can see that we've narrowed it down to 103 consultant firms. Also notice that these results are now organized by Navigator category. So the first thing we see here are our expert firms. So Coastal Cloud and Idealist and Fionta and Cloud for Good. These are the folks who have achieved expert Navigator status for their nonprofit cloud projects. And so the AppExchange search results returns those firms first. As we scroll down, we get into our level 2 specialist firms for nonprofit cloud, and then level 1 specialists. So these are the firms that hold at least one level 1 specialist under the nonprofit cloud. All right, so that's the Salesforce expertise filter. There's also an industry expertise filter. Again, we know what that is. Every project has to be tagged to at least one industry. If you are searching for nonprofit or higher ed related firms, that's going to be under the salesforce.org sectors industry. A little bit confusing, but just know that's the option there. Then there's some other filters here: location, certified experts, ratings, all things we pretty much talked about before. So let me give you a few pro tips on how to use these filters. The first is that if you want to filter within a category like Salesforce expertise, these filters work in an or relationship. So if I choose if I'm going to do a project and I know it's nonprofit cloud, plus it's going to have a Salesforce community, and I choose nonprofit cloud and experience cloud, it's actually an or relationship. So it's going to show me firms that have either one or the other, not necessarily both. So not really that helpful in terms of further narrowing down the partners that can best match that kind of combination of product capabilities. In terms of, reset that. In terms of location, so what's interesting about location is that it's not based on where the company itself is located. It's not necessarily based on where the company is located. By default, it's based on where the people in the firm live who are the firm's certified consultants. So a lot of firms have people that live, in multiple states or maybe all over the world. So wherever is the home or the home address for the consultants who earn the certification, that's by default where the company's locations are. Now, companies can go in and refine that if they want to, but just know that by default, you might see a partner that looks like it does business somewhere, and maybe they actually don't. Maybe they just have a consultant living in that location. Okay, so the certified experts filters, just something to be aware of here is that 2/3 of all Salesforce consulting partners have 10 or fewer consultants. So that's 1,200 out of the 1,800 firms have 10 or fewer consultants. And then another third have 11 to 100. So the majority of all the firms, in fact, almost all of them have 100 or fewer consultants. There are only 60 firms that have more than 100 consultants. The reason this can be important is obviously, again, if you have a very large company, or maybe you're kind of a top 50 nonprofit organization, you're definitely going to want to look for firms that have higher consulting capacity in terms of experts, but also know that that tends to correlate to higher price tags. The bigger the firm in general, the more expensive they are to hire. So something to keep in mind as you try to make sure your budget matches up to the cost of your partner firm. And then kind of final pro tip here in terms of ratings. Again, this is only so useful because there are 0 firms that have 1-star or 2-star ratings. So you don't even have to unselect these to weed them out because none are going to show up anyway. And only three firms have a 3-star rating, right? So, if you're like me, if you're looking for, places to stay or places to eat, you may want to think about like 4 and 5-star. That's pretty much what you're going to get on the AppExchange. 95% of the firms have 5 stars. Or basically anything greater than 4.2, which is interesting, right? Because if you think about where the cutoff is for the Navigator categories, it's greater than 4.2. So it tells you a little bit about the types of projects, again, that partners are submitting tends to be the ones they know they can get rated very highly on. All right, so that's one way to filter consultants. There is also this little tool called the Consultant Finder. Basically is just providing a nice user interface to apply the filters we already looked at. One nice thing though about using the Partner Finder is that it does give you a real-time count of partners. So if we said, I'm looking for a partner that has nonprofit expertise of some level, notice it already said, okay, great, there's 103 firms, which is the number that we saw earlier. But if I said, yeah, I want nonprofit product expertise, but let's say I want a large firm and they need to have 100 or more consultants, that's going to narrow it down to 10. So this tool is nice in that sense, and it kind of gives you those real-time counts, but it's basically doing the same thing that applying the filters manually would do for you. Okay, so there is one other area I'm going to show you here. If you have any questions, I've seen a few come in already, but go ahead and post them in the Q&A panel, and I will address those momentarily. The last thing I wanted to show you on the AppExchange, but certainly not least, is the latest collections tab. So here you can find 2 very important categories of consulting companies: women-owned businesses and Black-owned businesses. So if I click on Black-owned, it's going to show me actually a mix of of companies that have products or apps, as well as companies that are consulting partners. And you can tell which is which just here on the tile. So it's going to say so in the bottom right. So that's an app, that's a consultant, that's an app. This is, at this point, curated information. So it doesn't necessarily capture every firm for whom this is true. And unfortunately, this is also not something that you can filter on. I wouldn't be surprised if down the road, Salesforce begins to add some of these additional attributes to firms to the partner search itself, so that you could filter based on Black-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, or other distinctions. But for now, you have to go to the latest collections tab. For women-owned businesses, the curated list does actually distinguish between apps and consultants. So the first section here is a set of apps, and then the next section is consulting firms. The one thing to notice here is that there's this refresh for more link. So it shows you a set of, I think, 20 or 25 firms by default, but you can click refresh and it will it'll change that up and show you a different set of consultants. Not great user experience from my point of view, because there's no way to sort of view them all at once. You sort of get to view this random set based upon clicking that review or that refresh for more link. But definitely, good to know about as you're looking to, find firms that are going to be a good fit for you, for your organization, and for your organization's values. Okay, so let's go on over to the Q&A, and I'll put this slide up while we do that. A little shameless promotion. So as I mentioned earlier, I do have a guide that is essentially 10 articles on partner selection. That is available for free on my website, watthamleyconsulting.com/latest. You can get those articles. You can also sign up for my email list. I've got 2 more articles to go in the series, so I'll be sending out emails once those are available. And then obviously feel free to contact me directly. Here's my email address in my LinkedIn profile. We've got about 10 minutes left, and we do have a few questions. So I'm going to go ahead and dig into these, and feel free to add any in the Q&A panel. So the first question is, what is a gold partner? So I'm assuming what this means. So the whole Navigator program itself is only a couple of years old. And before that, the way Salesforce partners used to be able to distinguish themselves were through what they call the metal tiers. So you would have registered partners, and then you'd have silver and gold, and I think platinum, and then there were some other tiers above that. And so that kind of represents the previous partner program distinction. So if you're seeing partners talking about themselves as a gold partner or silver, that kind of thing, you're not going to find a lot about that anymore, because Salesforce has really kind of deprecated that in favor of using Navigator as a way to indicate partner achievements. And in my opinion, it's a better way to do it, because it does really require the partner to demonstrate not only that they've got a bunch of consultants or have done a bunch of projects, but that the projects that they've done, the certifications that they've earned, have all been in service of particular types of client need. So that's gold partners. Thank you for that question. Can a partner count one project more than once? So I assume by that you mean when they're logging the project, and let's say it's a nonprofit project, again, kind of the area I know best, and they say it's, can they say this project was both a fundraising project and an engagement project, or fundraising and program management? And the answer to that is yes. So a single project can count across multiple, or can count towards multiple specializations, essentially. The partner could also potentially log those as 2 separate projects. It would result in 2 separate surveys, which might annoy the customer if they're working with, basically a single set of stakeholders. So that is why Salesforce does allow more than one, a project account for more than one category. There is kind of a nuance here where in order to earn a specialization, all of the partners' projects cannot be with a single client. So if I'm someone who's done basically 3 fundraising projects over time with the same client, that would not be enough to earn me a level 1 specialization. There have to be at least 2 clients represented across the specialization areas. Okay, thank you for that question. And please, if folks have more, we do have a few more minutes. I've got a couple of more here that people have submitted. How do you know which certifications are relevant for Navigator? How do you know which certifications are relevant for Navigator? Oh, so I'm guessing what you mean by that is for each specialization category, there is a certification requirement along with a certain number of projects. So for example, the examples we looked at were nonprofit cloud. If you wanted to get a specialization in fundraising, the certification you needed was a nonprofit cloud consultant certification. If you were doing, if you wanted to a firm wanted to specialize in sales cloud projects, they would need a sales cloud certification. So in terms of I guess the short answer to that is if you're a client you don't know, you just kind of have to take Salesforce's word for it that the certifications that the firm has earned are relevant to that particular specialization area. If you are a partner, there is documentation on the partner community in terms of which certifications map to which specialization, so your firm can kind of plan out your staff certification plan based on that. And then one other question that's come in, and feel free to submit others. Can a partner tell if you have visited their AppExchange page? So yes and no. So if you are just browsing the page in the way that we did as part of the demo, there's nothing that identifies you personally to the partner in doing that. Partners on the back end do get metrics on the number of visitors to their AppExchange page, but that's all anonymized data. There are a couple of aspects to the AppExchange listing that if you click into them, and if you're logged in, then that information can be gleaned and shared with the partner. Or if you're not logged in, I think there's an option to kind of to sign in or provide your information. And those are there's a watch a demo button, and then there's like a learn more button. So if the partner has set it up that way, there is an option to kind of capture or invite you to provide your data. And so in that case, you could go into their Salesforce org as a lead, and they might start reaching out to you. So just know if you're kind of clicking buttons in the listing, the partner might start contacting you. But otherwise, if you're just browsing, there's no way for them to tell. All right, so those are all the questions that have come in. I would like to thank everybody for your time and attention on the call today, and for your questions. Thank you so much. I do hope that this has been useful for you. If you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out. If you know of folks who could benefit from this information, please feel free to pass it along. I will be sharing the link to the recording once I've been able to get it posted. And other than that, have a great rest of your day. And thanks again for being with me today. Bye-bye.